Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody had a good summer. I hope. All right. I had a good summer. I really enjoy. Okay. It's good to see many familiar faces here. But this section here so far is not very big. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very nice, very warm group. I'm going to discuss many exciting ideas together. So today, first class, I would just like to talk about the course syllabus and talk about any administrative side of the course. You guys can ask me questions at any time to clarify any doubts, especially how we're going to evaluate to come up with your final grade at the end. I definitely consulted with some of my colleagues about how usually this course will be done, but I also have my own idea about running this course as well. So anyway, there'll be a mix, but we'll see. And for your information, I took the same course. Do you know Jeff from the other section? I took it with him, year 2004, the same course. It's amazing. I'm going to teach the same course after so many years. All right. Anyway, so I'm going to definitely do my best to really walk you through all the important, exciting ideas this semester. At the same time, I'm teaching this course the first time, but doesn't really mean it's going to be compromising any quality. But for sure, if you got any advice throughout the course, let me know. I'm more than happy to take some advice. Okay, so let's now go over some slides and also some administrative side issue. I don't think we are going to go over too many technical stuff today, but the plan is to really review a little bit of the stuff, like a big O notation, modularity, maybe ADT, the basic stuff. That's something also very important for the context of this course, maybe in the first week or two. And then we'll dive into something much more technical, okay? But I'll talk about it. Okay, let's see what's gonna happen. All right, so for those of you who didn't really take any class with me, this will be the first time, feel free to call me Jackie, most preferred. I'm very informal, but if you want to call me Professor, Professor Jackie, Professor Wayne, no problem, okay? But Jackie, most preferred. Any advice you want to get on the course? Maybe just speak to me. I think that this course, according to my colleague, I'm not exactly sure, but they said this course is supposed to be very challenging, of course, in an intellectual way, which is good because you're doing some serious degree. So taking some challenging course is definitely good for you in a long way. So we'll see how that goes, right? I make no pre-assumption, right? There will be something that I presume you guys will know, but if there's anything I assume too much, you guys can definitely tell me. But since I got also familiar faces from my 2101 from the winter, I don't really assume you still remember everything. 4 months, since April is a long time. So there will be some stuff which I will like you to brush up as well. But I'll definitely supply the materials to you along the way. We'll see how that goes. Okay, just suggest any way you think that can help your learning. I'll be more than happy to listen. And my style would be, I definitely don't mind if you interrupt me for any questions during the lecture, right? Anything you think I should really explain more, let me know. If you're not enrolled in the section yet, I know this section here is supposed to be only for engineering students, but in case you still want to enroll, maybe you're from CS, you can just email me your information. I'll add you at least to the E-class right now. And please assume that everything is going to be followed, right? Up to the time you can get enrolled. But it turns out for this particular course, you guys will feel quite relaxed in the sense that there wouldn't be anything very serious that's going to be tested on you before the reading week. But that doesn't really mean you should really skip any learning part. I'll try to keep pushing you, right? Just to remind you about what you should really do. But starting from after the reading week, there will be assessment coming, including the final exam. We'll talk about it. All right, so please send me the information if you want to get access to E-class. So far, the E-class is pretty empty. So I'll definitely add some useful stuff as we go. But for now, you don't need to worry, okay? I'll definitely keep you posted. All right, and class protocol, I just want to say just one time, I am very sensitive to noise, so please try not to talk during the class, even though sometimes might be whispering to your classmate for some clarification, just ask me, right? As again, I said, I don't mind being interrupted. And if you guys use laptop to take notes, no problem, you should really do it. But if somehow, maybe not now, maybe once we get closer to the reading week or after the reading week, some of you might be tempted to maybe work on your other courses material, maybe during the lecture. I'd rather you do it elsewhere. That'd be much appreciated, right? If you kind of took a course with me before, you know that I don't really read out the slides. I just want to work out the problem with you, which is going to be beneficial for your performance. on the test. And mobile phone, just keep it minimum. If you really have to have an urgent text to return, that's going to take a long time. Please do it outside. Okay, that's it. All right. Hopefully, we don't have to remind yourself anymore. Just one time. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, the slides are going to be posted. As I said, I got to admit, I'm doing this course for the very first time. So there will be quite a bit of material I have to create on my own. I don't quite like reusing other people's material. So I'm going to do all things on my own, but I'll make sure everything will be of good quality to you. That's something I can guarantee, right? However, for the slides, sometimes it may not come exactly like a 1 day before the classes. I'll try to make sure before any class, if you want to download any notes template or any slides, check maybe 1 hour before, maybe about 2:30-ish. Most likely it will be there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to focus on, especially for this course, it's kind of actually interesting. This course, traditionally, it will be taught in a way everything is going to be done on the paper. But I would like to have a little bit of programming component to it, a little bit. Not to the extent in 2101, but it will be to some extent that it will be very useful for you to know. For example, you cannot really walk out of this course without knowing how to program a graph in Java. I would like you to experience that. All right, that's something I want you to really try. Okay, and it's going to lead you a long way. Maybe you have some technical interview. They may not necessarily just ask you like a simple linked list or array. They might ask you about how to do a tree rotation to maintain the balance of a tree, or how do you do a breadth search? How do you find the shortest path? Things like that, right? You want to know how to really do that in Java. But of course, to be fair, I'm not going to ask you to program something very substantial in the actual test, which I will talk about. I will give you some assignment that's going to be quite targeted for the test I'm going to give to you later. So, hopefully that will help. But we'll talk about it once we go there. And also, there will be a tutorial session on Friday. You can think about in some ways like a lab, right? Which we should have in 2101. I'm glad we had it in 3101. Most likely, I'm going to run the tutorial session all by myself. I would like to interact with you guys to see where you might be struggling. I'm going to work out exactly the agenda for each tutorial session. I'll let you know. Maybe usually I can let you know on Friday morning or maybe Thursday evening. Just come, and I'll definitely have something for you to do. Right? It could be that we can work out some problems that we actually assign to you to do in the lecture. Or it could be some extra graph algorithm problem I want you to try. We can go over the solution. Or it could be it's before the test. I want to do a review session together with you, right? We'll try to make it useful. So do come to the tutorial session. I'm going to run it by myself, not likely to be the TA. Yeah?
So is it going to be similar to your 2030, where it's going to be like a Q&A session where we just kind of...
Yeah, I can think about it. I'm not exactly, to be honest with you, I'm not sure what's the difference between tutorial and also lab, right? Maybe just about the location. Because the way we're going to run the tutorial is going to be on some like a lecture room like this, not really like a WSC or prison lab. But I will encourage you guys, I'll let you know, right? If you like the travel lights, maybe you wouldn't want to bring your laptop. If for that particular session, I want to do some hands-on Java programming, I'll let you know beforehand. Maybe you can bring your laptop together with you so we can try something together, right? Anyway, I'll let you know the details. Yeah. Okay, it's a Friday late afternoon. Not a very ideal time, but if you come, we're going to have some exciting problems to actually work through together. Okay. I'll plan on this Friday tutorial. We can do something light. I'm not exactly sure what we do, but I'll let you know. Okay. Do come. Okay. All right. Your engagement is the key. Just ask questions. Okay. Okay. Writing email to me. I'm very informal, so feel free to call me Jackie in the email. You don't need to fill any pressure about calling me Jackie in the email, right? You don't need to, right? But just basic courtesy would be appreciated. You can just look at the example, right? I'm pretty sure all of you will be okay. The last bullet point I would like to really emphasize, right? I personally really prefer in-person communication. So anytime you want to talk about the course material, either grading related or maybe some more technical content you want to talk about, I don't think emails or Zoom would be the best way. Just come to my office hour. I'll talk about the office hour. And then also come to the tutorial since I'll be here in the tutorial anyway. Okay? Anytime if you send an email to me, I don't really get to respond, just take it this way. It's because I want you to really come to see me in person. All right, just take it that way. Don't feel offended. Just come to see me in person. All right, course information. So there'll be two sides. There'll be two sides that you actually want to pay attention to. The first one is the E-class. I just make it visible this afternoon. So don't worry, nothing's there, not yet, not even an announcement. I'll make an announcement pretty soon. Maybe the first one will be about the lecture material for today, about the syllabus walkthrough. And also, I might just send you some material, if I got any, for the tutorial on this Friday. But anyway, I'll get something for us to work on together. Okay, so that's the E-class. There's only one section here, so and luckily the sections are not coordinated, so we can just do our own thing. Okay, just one E-class. Okay, so what can you expect to see? Announcement for sure. Assignment instructions. So there will be two assignments. And the assignment will be more like a mix of some theory part and also some programming part as well, both of them, right? A little bit unlike like a 2030. I know, maybe back in 2030 you took with me, it's purely programming. But I think for 3101, you guys deserve a little bit of challenge, like a theoretical challenge. A little bit, okay? We'll see. Maybe it's too easy for you. You can let me know, right? I can always try to make it harder. Assignment instruction will be on the E-class. And on schedule, the first assignment that's going to be released will be right before the reading week or around the reading week time. However, I'll also try to assign some exercises to you, like an informal assignment. So please try to do them as well. Okay, so this is something I'm also going to talk about. There will be two midterms. Let's put it that way. There'll be two midterms. And then each midterm is going to be more like a mix of the programming part and the written part. Okay? For now, I can only secure the WSC, William Small Center, for 1 hour during our lecture time. I need to confirm all the details with you in due course, right? But roughly speaking, so on the midterm day, there'll be two midterms. On the midterm day, we are not going to meet here. We're going to see each other in the William Small Center. Okay? For now, I can only secure 1 hour for our class time in the William Small Center. However, if there's only 1 hour, I'll make sure the question I give to you, written and programming, is doable for that 1 hour, okay, if that's the case. Okay? If I can extend the reservation for maybe 80 minutes, like our class time, I'll definitely do that. I just need to reach out to other instructors who actually reserve the same time. I'll keep you posted. I'll talk a little bit more about the test. I should really write something down so you can keep it as a record. I'll talk more about it. And please check your email regularly. That's so important, right? The most effective way for me to at least push some information to you is by email. But if you want to clarify anything, see me in person. Okay, required study material, right? This is again, should you read a textbook, right? My answer to all the courses I'm teaching will be, if you're learning with me, it's not really necessary. Okay, I would say I try to make my slides as detailed and self-contained as possible. So if you just study my slides, go over the material I kind of cover in the lecture, it should be sufficient. But for those of you who want to go a little bit, go a little bit more beyond what's really covered here, because algorithm is a very fundamental topic. Doesn't matter if you're studying computer science or engineering. It's so fundamental. It's almost like an extension for 2101. So what I usually characterize 2101 as is more like an interview course. 3101, it's just like an interview course as well. You have to understand the advanced algorithm, especially about graph, to really solve the more advanced problem, which we'll see some of them in the later slides. Okay, so in the syllabus, I actually included some reference book. They are actually optional. Some of them, there's not a unique textbook I'm trying to use as a source for my slides. I might take some example from each one of them, or maybe some external resources as well. So I'll talk about each textbook very briefly. Just give me a moment, okay? But this is the site you actually want to check regularly, right? That's where we're gonna put the stuff. Okay, you can click on that, or very easy to find, just in case you're taking class with me for the very first time. Just go to Google, Jackie, EECS, York U. Okay, so my site should be the first hit. If you go there, all right, go under lectures, okay, and you will see 3101 right here. Okay, 3101. Okay, let's just go over it a little bit. I already put some study resources for you, just for studying for this course. So this is where my office is in the Lausanne building, second floor. Very easy to find. And I don't really have any Zoom office hour for this semester just yet. We'll see how the demand looks like, also from your fellow student as well. But sometimes if you really want to discuss certain things with me, but you cannot really commute, reach out to me. Maybe you can schedule something over Zoom, okay? So you can see the Zoom link there as well. Okay, this part over here, I would say, for now, you don't necessarily have to touch it just yet. I just included it in there. So far, you guys have taken 3 Java classes, right? For engineering, it's like a 1021, 2030, and 2101, right? So all these classes kind of build some foundation for 3101 as well. For example, in 2101, you learned about trees. We're still going to talk about trees, but different kinds of tree that's going to be more sophisticated to manipulate. We're going to see that. But I would also like to do a little bit Java programming in this course as well, just for you to get enough idea. If you actually want to implement any creative algorithm on your own for later, you will know how to do it, right? I definitely want to make sure you know how to do it. All right, so for those of you who want to, maybe if you ever want to review some stuff in Java, you can definitely look at either one of these 3 entire courses, right? All the materials are there. If you want to maybe want to take a look at how exactly you can implement trees in Java, how you can implement linked lists, array, things like that, all there. If there are certain topics you cannot find, you can let me know. I can point out resources to you. All right, so this part here is only for reference. If there's any, let's say, once we get deeper into the graph and we talk about implementation. So there are actually 3 different ways you can implement a graph in Java. I'm gonna let you learn all of them. All right, so you deserve to know all the information there. Well, we'll talk about it once we get there. So that's one thing. Okay, so tutorial here. Again, these 2 are completely optional as well. Let me just talk about them very briefly. Since we're going to do some programming, so the best way to really for you to keep track of your software projects is by using something like a GitHub, right? For those of you who haven't used any GitHub so far, maybe you want to give it a try. It's quite a nice way to really showcase what you have done. This one here is what I usually will advise my students at the end of 2101 to try. Because in 2101, we learned about how to implement trees. And to really build a compiler. A compiler is simply a computer program that's going to turn one thing into another. Sounds very general, but it's exactly what a compiler does. So a compiler is really something you want to put on your skill set, maybe on your CV, to show to your employer, you know how to do a compiler. You know how to implement one. So this one here, completely optional. And that one there is not directly relevant to the technical content we're going to speak about in this course. But for those of you who may actually want to build a compiler, because once you got a skeleton ready on your side, you will be able to implement many interesting algorithms to solve problems that we learn in this course. So that would be a nice way to really also build a side project on your own. Right? I'll leave that to you. But if you really get a chance to try during the semester, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you with that. Okay? It's also in Java. All right, so we got important documents here. We got syllabus, which we definitely go over together. And also we got the slides I'm showing now. And also the weekly schedule, pretty simple actually. But basically lecture, tutorial, that's it. And also office hour. And also semester calendar, just tell you what when the due dates, release dates, and etc. Right? And the exam, I don't know the exam date just yet, but it's going to be a 3-hour exam written. Most likely in the exam center. That's what I requested. I think they will let me know maybe about possibly after the reading week. Okay. So as soon as I know, I'll let you know. Okay. And then, so I think, So we got all the materials here. So there will be 24 lectures in total over 12 weeks. Today is number 1. And the topics roughly, and then the recording, the YouTube icon here will be the lecture recording, right? So I'll definitely make it there. And then you will see 2 icons over here. The right-hand side here is what I call the template. So since I use my iPad a lot, and your fellow student from the previous term asked me to maybe also post a clean version so they can kind of practice the problem alongside with me in the lecture. There you go. All right, I'll try to post the notes, which I'm going to use for that particular lecture, at least 1 hour ahead, right? You can definitely check it out. So I may not remind you about this maybe every time. I'll remind you maybe for the first 2 weeks or so, right? But after that, you can always check the same place. So you can print it out if you want to, use your maybe a quota in the department for printing, or you can load it to your tablet computer and take notes with me. Okay, take it if that can be useful. And then the left icon here is the annotated notes, which I'm going to do on my own, right? If you don't like my writing, that's okay. Just copy over the annotation for yourself, right? The first lecture here about design by contract, modularity, abstract data type, just to give us more like a broader context about fitting algorithm into like a software development. Maybe you're in software engineering, most likely, then you have to understand how this course can be fit into the software engineering or software development context. So I want to talk first about design by contract, modularity, abstract data type. If I can cover a little bit today, I'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do that from Monday. Okay. But the slides are already there. You can feel free to make a copy, and there might be some minor revision as well. I'll let you know if there's any revision. Maybe don't print it out just yet. You can definitely download it to your computer. Okay. All right, any questions so far? So this site here is basically everything you will actually have to, yeah, will be with you. This is really the site that I'm going to post everything for you to study. Yeah.
Will the tutorial sessions on Fridays be recorded?
I will try my best to record the session. However, I think I'll try to motivate as many you to come as possible. So how about this? Once I get to the attendance part for the syllabus, I'll talk about it, because I plan to take attendance both in the lecture and the tutorial. Okay, I'll talk more about it. Because for those of you who are kind of familiar with my attendance taking, I am experimenting something a little bit different this time. But if you're taking the class with me the first time, doesn't matter, right? So that's the first time anyway for you. I'll talk about it. But I'm going to run the tutorial myself mostly. So I think it'll be worth your time. Just come and we'll work out some problem together. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. And then let's now move on to, let me just close this. Okay, good. So that's the main site, syllabus. Okay, so yeah, I'll try to record every lecture, but I gotta say, so far, I've been doing the recording ever since 2017 when I first joined the department. It has only failed to me, I would say, less than 5 times so far. So I think it's pretty reliable technology, but it could fail. If it does fail, I don't have the recording. I'm teaching only one section for 3101. So you may want to come to class, right? So, but in case if the recording couldn't really go through for that particular class, at least you get a slice and the notes. Okay. Good. All right, so it's a challenging course. So I would say come to the class for the first time in person, ask questions to get as much comprehension as possible. Even 50%, 60% is awesome. Especially once we get to, for example, how to find the shortest path, how to find a minimum spanning tree, and things like that, right? It's going to be very challenging in a good way. So I don't expect you to learn 100% the first time. So that's why the recording is really for you there, right? You can definitely catch up with the remaining 20%, 30% after the class. All right, ask questions, of course. All right, take notes, right? Yeah, afterward, don't feel forced to come to the class, right? It's your call. I'll be very happy if you come, but if you really have to skip some classes, no problem. All right, course syllabus, I'm gonna go over that. Any questions? Okay, let's take a look at the syllabus. And you can find a copy of that in the lecture site. I'll show you again. The lecture site, course syllabus. I think all the details there are pretty much stable, right? If I make any typos, of course, I'll change that. But I think according to university policy, things can be changed until September 16, in about 2 weeks' time. But if there's anything changed, I'll let you know explicitly. I don't imagine so, all right? Okay, let's now take a look at the syllabus, which will be here. Okay, right here. Okay, 3101 and section E, all right? And I must say, there are 3 instructors this term, all good. Well, I would say the other 2 might be even better than I am, right? So Jeff is good. Shaheen, definitely awesome. But I believe we got very different teaching styles, right? But we cover really trying to satisfy the same learning outcomes. I would say it's a matter of style. So if you really find that my style doesn't really work for you, it might be nicer for you to make a decision. But maybe you have no choice because this is the only engineering section. But anyway. So we're going to do our own thing in this engineering section here. I think the other section might be do some fun stuff as well, but may not be exactly the same. Okay, so policy here, just about the assignments, right? So this policy I haven't really changed. So if you're taking this with me for the first time, so they, for both assignments there, they're more like a participation-based grading, meaning that as long as you can submit your best attempt for the assignments before the submission deadline. Doesn't need to be perfect. It can be even some sketch work, that's okay. As long as you submit your best efforts before the submission deadline, you get full marks, no question asked. Okay, so you can think about it as free marks. Okay. Can you ask ChatGPT to help solving the programming problems for you for the assignments? You may, I don't check anyway. As long as you can learn the stuff from ChatGPT, that's okay. And can you work with your fellow student together for the solution? Yes, you can. There's no idea about plagiarism for the assignments. You can definitely work in groups. Can you ask Jackie for solution hints? Yes, you can. I don't mind giving you very explicit hints as well. So the assignments there are really there to really help you to really get ready for the upcoming test, right? So you can definitely take the assignments in really try to tackle that in using the way that's going to work the best for you. Right? As long as you will be able to solve similar problems in the actual test. As long as you're confident with that, I'm okay with that. Okay. All right, so please read very briefly just about the policy, right? You can take a look. Okay. And other policy are very standard. You can take a look. I don't need to waste your time for today. Okay. And for late enrollment, in case, you gotta reach out to me. Okay, in-person communication, most preferred. And then my office hour, it will be actually after our class, Monday, Wednesday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, so you can make, but I don't mind taking some short question right after the class, maybe for 10 or 15 minutes, but I need to run back maybe for your other fellow student from other courses. I would say 6 to 7 p.m. for now. We'll see how that goes. If there are too many requests, maybe I can consider adding more hour. I'll try. Because I'm teaching like 4 sections at the same time fall this year. But my winter is going to be much more relaxed, but just for the fall. I'm going to be quite occupied, but I'll try to make as much time as possible for you guys. Just request. I'll try. All right, so that's an office hour for now. But if you really want to make an appointment with me, I'll try. Just reach out. We can do Zoom. May not be regular basis, but we'll try as much as possible. Okay. So we got a lecture here, and we got tutorial over here, okay? Like that. I'll talk about the test in a moment, because the test time is not going to be on tutorial. The test is going to be on Monday during the class time in the Williams Small Center. I'll write it down in just one moment. Okay, prerequisite, I'm pretty sure you guys have satisfied that. So I think we definitely have to, for example, use certain formal techniques like a logic and proofs, right? But I would say we'll only review those kind of stuff on demand. When we need it, I'll review it, okay, rather than doing some thorough review in the beginning. So you will definitely need some math, okay? So for example, you have to know something about logic, what you learned maybe back in 1019 or 1090, discrete math, like universal quantification, existential quantification, things like that. So sometimes we may have to specify the property of the algorithm using the logic. Okay, I'll review the logic when we need to. And also, we might need to do a little bit of mathematical induction, because when we actually want to, trees and graphs are recursive structure. So whenever you want to deal with the recursive data structure and its algorithm, you have to somehow prove in a recursive way, in which case mathematical induction will be the most natural solution. Okay, so I'll get to the mathematical induction when we have to. Okay.
I'm sorry, are the assignments going to be just programming or?
The assignment, yes. So I can write it down a little bit later, but just shortly. Assignment will be both written and also programming, both, yeah. Simply because your test is going to be a mix of both as well. So I want you to get more prepared for the test. Okay. All right, that's good. E-class site and study materials over here. So this will be the required site. All the materials are posted there. You should really study them. And the background materials on Java programming. So I would say for now, don't waste any time just yet, right? So I would say maybe once I gradually talk about the programming part in the lecture, I will definitely let you guys know whether you should really check yourself if you want to review this kind of stuff, right? But I presume everybody at least got some very basic Java, right? I don't think you have to really review about how to write a loop in Java, I'm pretty sure, right? As long as that's not the case, then we're good. All right, textbook. So I listed 1, 2, 3, and 4 books over here. But algorithm is a very well-developed and very standard topics. There are hundreds of textbooks out there, right? So these 4 are, some of them I kind of used myself. Some of them I got recommended by colleagues who actually taught us 3101 in the earlier years. I just list them all over here. Which one should you really go for reference or even buy is completely up to you, all right? I got 3 of them actually right here today. I'm not gonna bring it again, they're so heavy, right? So, but after the class, if you want to flip some pages, we can do it together, right? Or maybe during my office hour. Come to my office, I'll keep all the 3 copies in my office, right? So this one here definitely got quite a bit of Java code. I think I also listed this book over here for 2101 as well, especially when we talk about, I'm going to cover at least a tree that's kind of, that's called AVL tree for self-balancing. The book over here actually got quite a bit of coverage for Java code as well. Okay, you can definitely get into it for some extra practice. And this book here is very, very standard, okay? And this book here, of course, you cannot see that in the recording, but it's right here for those of you who are here. Quite a thick one. Right? It's a very standard book for algorithm. The one I'm having over here, the green one, is actually 3rd edition. I think that was back in maybe year 2009, but in 2022, they got a 4th edition, which is actually, they're said to be substantially revised with a much more elaborate explanation, more example, more coverage. Also machine learning, I believe they cover as well. So if you want to get a copy for some classic algorithm textbook, this will be a good one, okay? And the next one there is actually by faculty from the Princeton University, very nice university there. And this is the one. The advantage of this is they actually got a company's like a book site where they got some free slides of video for you to actually go over some topics in the book. So this one is actually quite nice too. So this one here, I also included some links for you right here. You can go to the link and explore a little bit. This one's slightly thinner. All right. And then the final one I got recommended by one of the colleagues who's not teaching this term actually. You know, actually for Jeff, he also got his own book. So if you want to get his book, it's also awesome, right? Doesn't really matter. So this book here, actually the thickest one. So this one here, I haven't really read everything yet, but I might take some example from there as well when I teach you guys the concept. So this one could be interesting too. I just got recommended by colleagues. I just purchased 1 copy myself just to explore. All right. So you can decide. Of course, not recommended to find any illegal copy. I got to say that, but whatever you do, I have no knowledge about, all right? But it's always nice to keep some book, at least for the subject you're passionate about. Right? If you're a software engineering major, you should be passionate about algorithm, right? That's from my point of view, right? You can think about it. If you want to flip any pages about these books, feel free to come by my office hour. I can definitely let you take a look on what's there before you may want to buy it. They might have some maybe older edition for some books, maybe in the library. I'm not too sure. Okay, so you can double check. Okay. Of course, if you find any interesting algorithm book, do share with me. I would love to know. Maybe I can list that. Maybe I'm going to teach this course again in the winter, so your fellow students can benefit as well if you find anything. Okay. All right, so let's now talk about course topics and also learning outcomes. Let's dive a little bit, not too deep, right? Because it doesn't really make sense to talk too deep about these things until we actually get to them, right? Let's talk very briefly. about the stuff. So right here. All right, course description. Right, let's now just read it together. Okay, it started from the official description. So this course intended to teach students fundamental techniques in the design of algorithm and analysis. So it's a design and also analysis. And here, analysis, let's now annotate ourselves right away. Whenever you want to analyze the algorithm in 2101, we mainly analyze the time efficiency for the algorithm or data structure, right? Big O, remember? That's something we may have to review as well for you guys, just to make sure. I'm going to cover some new examples in the Big O, something that's more challenging, which is going to require some mathematical derivation to really figure out the running time. We'll see that. Analysis, two things. One will be about the runtime. And Big O is one thing. And also we're going to see also big theta. This will be something that's new we're going to learn, which has a very similar definition for big O, but it just asymptotically, it means something a little bit different. Rather than upper bound, it's a tight bound. Okay, well, we're going to see a little bit later when we need to use it. And the second one about analysis, about correctness analysis, which we didn't say too much in 2101. Basically, in 2101, let's say, for example, when I talk about linked lists, when I talk about maybe, let's say heap, I simply tell you how the operation should work. We never actually even dive deeper into exactly why it will actually work. So I think in this course, we'll try to, not necessarily for every algorithm, but at least for some of them, we're going to dive deep into their mathematical property. That really can give you a feel about if you're ever interested, maybe in theoretical computer science kind of area to study algorithm, that's the field you want to have. Not just about writing code, but also to really analyze formally. Okay, so the analysis in both ways. Okay, of course, computational complexity here, just about time. But I want to say analysis should include both correctness and time. Okay, each technique is applied to practical problems. Okay, sure. And this is really something, also choose the algorithm appropriate for many common computational problems. Let's talk about the most classic one in engineering and computer science, sorting problem. All right. A little bit quiz. So far, if you graduate today, what sorting algorithm do you know? Oh, I like it. It's quite a complicated one. That's good. Merge, sort. Just give me one. Let me write it down. Merge, sort, quick sort. Good. Okay, let me talk about these two. Okay, merge, sort over here. And Josh, for merge sort, what's the running time? N log n, that's nice, right? Because somehow the merge sort has been playing a way recursive that's going to be n log n. That's good. Okay. N log n. And number two, quick sort. What's the running time?
I think it was at least n log n, or on average.
Okay, so quick sort, okay, let me put it this way. Is quick sort always going to give you as efficient as merge sort? No. If you say no, why not?
Because you haven't taught us how to find the pivot yet.
Ah, exactly, the pivot, right? What would be the ideal pivot? Let me give you a choice. Should it be close to the average or should it be close to the median?
Median.
Median, right? Okay, nice, okay? So that's kind of the thing you want to keep reminding yourself, right? So we get more and more facts, from this course, right? So quick sort, basically it will be no better than selection sort, insertion sort, or even bubble sort. So the pivot is far from median. On the other hand, you will actually get n log n when the pivot is just about the median. Okay, merge sort, quick sort, anything else? Simple one's okay. Huh? Heap sort, that's nice. Okay, heap sort. Heap sort. Let me just check. For those of you who didn't take the 2101 with me in the winter, don't feel shy. did you actually learn heap sort before? If you haven't learned heap sort, raise your hand, please. You haven't learned, right? Okay. So I think I'll see what I can do, because I think it may not be a bad idea to maybe review one of the sorting algorithms. So it may not be a bad idea to do the heap. Okay, we'll see. So heap sort, and this one is actually interesting because the sorting itself is quite easy to write. You basically build an empty heap, keep adding stuff, and keep subtracting stuff. And then what you get is sorted, right? That's in summary, but we'll see if you get a chance to review. So that's also big N, big O of N log N. Okay, heap sort. Give me something that's not as efficient. How about that? Insertion, selection. Okay, how about these two, right? Insertion sort, selection sort. And we have to review a little bit about insertion sort, selection sort, because I want to talk about some concept called loop invariance. Okay, so at this stage, we definitely, especially when you actually want to discuss the correctness of iterative algorithm specifically, you will need the help of loop invariance. So especially for iterative, algorithm with a loop, iterative algorithm, you will need something called loop invariance, which I know Jeff loves it, right? I remember when I was a student with him, he said there's going to be, if there's going to be one question in the exam, loop invariant, all right? So we're definitely going to cover loop invariant. However, the way I'm going to cover that, for sure, I will tell you the conceptual meaning for loop invariance, but I think the best way is to somehow put the loop invariant in the Java context. Okay, it's coming. So you can see how you can simulate the loop invariant to see when it works and when it does not work in debugger, in Eclipse. There might be something like a hands-on we can also do. We can cover the conceptual idea about loop invariance in the lecture, and then I can give you guys maybe something to set up, and then we can go over some details in the tutorial. That's what we can do. Okay, we'll see. I'll plan for you for that. Okay, loop invariance. Okay, we got selection sort, insertion sort. Okay. Selection sort, also insertion sort. That's pretty much it. Okay, at least this sorting you have to know, at least. Bubble sort, of course, if you want to use it, but not as efficient.
Last time when we were learning quicksort, you sort of mentioned that there's this fast algorithm to find the median. Are we going to be covering that?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, so because, but you're quite right. What Josh said was because in order for the quicksort to really reach the n log n performance, you have to make sure you can choose the median very fast. I'm not too sure if I will cover that. I can make a note if I can cover that. Could be some nice, interesting addition in the tutorial. May not be in the actual lecture. I'll make a notes. Because finding median is different from finding the average, right? It's different. You want to find a value right in the middle when it's actually sorted, right? Anyway, I'll make a note for myself. I will see if I can maybe add as an extra problem for us. So pivot. So there will be some efficient algorithm for finding the median. Okay, we'll see if we get there. Okay, so we got, select the appropriate trade-off and speed and space. Okay, so for the space. So we haven't really talked much about space complexity in 2101, but there will be something for us to think, okay, about space. Especially once we get to dynamic programming, which will be the more advanced topic towards the end of the semester. Also, we're going to talk about space efficiency. Especially sometimes you may not necessarily have to store all your data in a linear data structure like an array or linked list. You may have to use a matrix, like a 2D array. One thing you may actually want to review, okay, for this term. One way to really implement a graph is called adjacency matrix. I'll explain that once we get there. But matrix here simply means 2D array. All right, so it will be part of our learning outcome this term. We have to learn about how to program 2D array in a way that's going to make the graph work. Of course, I'll give you all the materials, and I'll go over the basic with you, so you'll be prepared to do your own exercise as well. Okay. Okay. Okay, so 3-hour lecture, 1.5 tutorial, but I would say beyond these hours, okay, don't feel bad if you gotta spend much time on this course because it's a fundamental course, right? To really grasp the material, you have to spend time. Okay, so we definitely have to review the fundamental data structure, okay? I will definitely do the AVL tree. That's for sure. Especially we're gonna see some very interesting ideas called tree rotations. In the lecture, we're gonna see how we can do tree rotations on the paper, which is fun. So before that lecture, I'll let you know you should really bring a piece of paper and get ready to draw, okay, for that lecture. I'll let you know beforehand. And in addition to it, I would also like us to get some idea about how to implement the rotation in Java. Not really for the whole AVL tree operation algorithm, but at least some part of it, so you get some idea. Okay, I'll set it up for you later. And I don't think we really cover hash table as a data structure back in 2101. I might cover that as well. So I think it's good for completeness. Okay? And hash table also will be a nice way to really wrap up, actually review about big O as well. So there will be different ideas that we can review as well. And for those of you who took 2101 with me, I'm not sure if you remember, right? When we want to implement, let's say an array, let's say you're implementing a queue, right? You know, the first in, first out queue, right? That's a very simple data structure. Let's say you're implementing a queue using an array, and you set the initial size of the array to be, let's say, 1,000. As soon as you get to 1,000 elements, so completely filled out the array. So now you want to grow the array. So now we got choices. How exactly do you grow the array? Doubling, right? Maybe that's something I mentioned, I guess, right? Okay, maybe that's something you know already. So this would be something I want to use it as a way to really figure out the running time for iterative algorithm. So there will be, so let's say you're implementing a queue. So first in, first out queue. And then if you're using an array, primitive array, of course. And then it's so-called resizing strategy. And there are two common ones. One is called, as you guys said, doubling. And another one is called fixed increments. So this goes like this. If I got 1,000 elements, once the array is completely full, I'm going to double the size. It's going to become 2,000, and then 4,000, etc. Versus, if I actually got 1,000 here, initially, 1,000 here, I might say I want to increment just by 1,000 each time. There might be some fixed amount I got to decide. So it's going to be 2,000, and then 3,000, and etc. You can make, let's say you didn't hear the conclusion from me. Which one would you actually tend to guess might work more efficiently? You might still guess doubling, that's okay. But well, that's not a satisfactory answer for this course. We want to work out mathematically why the doubling strategy is going to be more efficient, right? So I think both of them are really worth our exercise, to really try it out to derive. I might do one of them with you in class, and I can assign one of them as exercise, and we can work it out in a tutorial, okay? And it's a very nice exercise to really review about geometrical sequence sum, about definitely the log, etc. Right? So these are the important mathematical components you have to know. All right, we'll get there. Okay, asymptotic notation, we'll definitely do that. After the ADT decided by contract, next Monday, we'll do the big O review, mainly the big O, right? I'll do some simple exercises, which we actually cover in 2101, but doesn't really hurt to brush up. And also, we're going to do some different example as well on the data structures. And this will be new. So if you kind of recall, the way we kind of work out the running time for merge sort and quick sort because they are both recursive. What we did was we tried to state the so-called recurrence relation, right? Recurrence relation. For example, we might say, let's say the running time is t. When the input size is 1, then the running time is 1. Or if the input size is n, what we do is we're going to make some recursive call. It's going to be 2 times maybe t of n over 2 and plus some constant, 1. Something like that, right? It's called a recurrence relation. So the way we did it in 2101 is simply try to unfold the recursion and observe some pattern from there and work out the equation. But there is a more general mechanism to really solve the recurrence relation that I can also mention briefly, mathematically. I think that's something you should also know, right? We'll get there. Because there are really 2 ways, to implement your algorithm, either iteratively, in which case you have to know the looping variance to justify its correctness, or you can implement the algorithm recursively, in which case to figure out the running time, you have to use recurrence relation and figure out the running time. But to prove the correctness of a recursive algorithm, you have to use mathematical induction, right? So these are all the techniques that you should really always keep in your mind, okay? We'll get there. All right, divide and conquer, recursion basically, and dynamic programming, all right? So this is really the algorithm. We're going to use matrix, okay? And we're going to do greedy algorithm, okay? So that's greedy algorithm most likely on the graph. We'll get there to see exactly what we mean by greedy, okay? Okay, divide and conquer, and amortization approaches. That simply means there might be some operations, if you only look at operation in isolation, it might be, for example, big over n. However, when you try to average out its running time over many other operations taken into the context, it might turn out to be big over 1. But that's something we'll see. So amortization simply means we want to consider more about average case as opposed to worst case. So amortization will be more like talking about average. And we'll do that as well. And the biggest topic that I'm going to focus a lot on will be graph algorithm. Right? Lots to talk about. Right? So for graph algorithm, okay, just for you guys information, right? For graph. So there are 2 levels that we're going to cover in this course. Okay, for graphs. First of all, graphs is an extension to trees. Extension to trees. For example, for the tree, you have something called a root. And then let's say binary tree, you got left child, right child, and then you can branch out for as deep as you like. Right? That's tree. Graph basically extend the idea about tree by allowing so-called cycles. So for example, let's say this is a tree with cycles. So maybe I can say I can also go back to here and go back to here. So the edges don't necessarily always branch out to the left child and right child. You can even go back to some of your ancestor. That's also possible. So this graph here is going to solve many problems that trees simply cannot solve. Because naturally, for many real problem that we're going to solve. For example, let's say, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Let's say you want to do the routing for airline planning. If you want to plan out your itinerary, so think about different cities, like nodes, right, in the graph, which I'll visualize to you in a moment. So the best way to really model your routing problem is not using a tree, because naturally you will have cycle, right? You can easily go from one city to another and come back to that particular city. So cycle is very natural. So tree is not enough expressively to really to solve the problem. Okay. Anyway, extension to trees. I'll definitely elaborate a lot more once we get there. And also, I need to give you the formal definition for what a graph is. Okay. So number 2, we want to do some implementations for the basic one. Okay. Implementation in Java. And there are 3 methods. I'll just give you some preview. Just mention the name, right? But we're going to go over each one of them. One is called edge list. The other one is called adjacency list. The final one is called adjacency matrix. For these two, you can, oh, by the way, so I used to have the restriction that you can only use primitive array in the lab test, right? In this course, it's relaxed. You will be able to use array list. Because the problem naturally is harder. In some way, I think for many routine stuff, I think it's okay to use array list. So it's a different context over here. But I'll talk about the, you will see later. So here, for both of them, you can use data structure like array list from Java. Okay. However, over here, you got to use the 2D array for matrix to see how things will work, right? So we're gonna kind of practice the implementation here, each one of them, by just solving some very easy problems in the graph. For example, how do you add a new edge? How do you do some breadth-first search? How do you do depth-first search? Things like that, easy one. Okay, at least you got some foundation there. In case you want to implement some more advanced algorithm yourself beyond this course, you will have some basis to do so. Okay, so that's level 2. Level 3 will be something which my colleagues normally will teach, which is about the more advanced algorithm on the graph. For example, how do you find the shortest path? And how do you find the minimum spanning tree? Things like that. Okay, so these will be the more advanced algorithm on the graph. I'll just mention 2. The shortest path, also minimum spanning tree. And let me mention one more. It's something called topological sort. Topological. For now, you don't need to worry. I want to mention that. So later on, maybe take this as like a reference list when you review for the exam, or maybe for a certain test, right? So all these algorithms, I'm not saying you will be tested on how to implement this on adjacency matrix in the test. Not really, but I'll let you know more concrete hints about what might be on the test when we get closer, right? But just remember, so there are different levels of the graph you got to study. Normally, what people will do is on the paper about a different algorithm, we can just draw on the picture. We are creative. We can just draw and then hand wave a little bit. But I also want some basic stuff to be done since you already learned so much about Java. I think we shouldn't really waste that ability, right? All right, so that's about the graph. We're definitely focusing a lot. And the final one will be about theory of NP completeness. It's definitely one of the topics we should really cover. I will try to see if I can dedicate at least one class, maybe just give you guys maybe some summary of facts and some intuition. And if you're really interested in this particular subject, there's a sequel to this course, 4101. I think your instructor might cover a little bit more about the NP completeness. But I'll definitely cover some basic stuff. Okay? We'll do that as well, but this might be towards the end of the course. All right, so that's about the course description. Right, just about some very quick overview about things that we're going to talk. All right, and then course learning outcomes. You're going to choose the appropriate algorithm to solve some problem, right? You're going to, based on maybe the running time, for example, right? Also design a new algorithm. So maybe once you learn about maybe the basic breadth-first search or depth-first search in graph, if I give you a new problem on the graph, how can you somehow modify, for example, the depth-first search to solve that particular new problem, right? So that's what we meant by design, okay? But I will try to maybe give you a maybe clearer guidance about exactly what you should really write when you want to design a new algorithm. What people like to do usually is just pseudocode, which I personally don't quite like, because if you put things in pseudocode, it's very ambiguous sometimes. It's really hard to know exactly what you want to express. So maybe writing in Java code will be the best way, right? Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. So you're going to design a new algorithm, based on the existing one. Either it can be recursive one, or it can be iterative one, what can be greedy algorithm, etc. We'll get there. Also, you want to prove either correctness or running time, right? So either it's about the time and it's about correctness. Okay, sorry, just said it in the wrong order. Correctness and time. Let's have a question for you. Let's say, which one do you think is more important? CR03 versus CR04. Proving that some new algorithm you design is efficient versus proving that it is actually correct. Which one is more important? Correct, exactly. Right? If that's not correct, doesn't matter if it runs even constant time. Just not useful, right? Okay, that's a very simple thing to really see. But of course, once given that two algorithms are equally correct, well, they're just correct, both of them, then you should choose the relatively more efficient one asymptotically. Okay. All right, apply standard graph algorithm to different problems. We shall see. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, let's just go back to syllabus over here. All right, grading scheme. Okay, we've been waiting for so long, right? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so there will be 2 assignments. Okay, participation-based grading. So you just need to make sure you submit your best attempt, and then you can definitely you can reach out to me, and then we can talk. We can even talk about the assignment during the tutorial just to help you, right? No problem. We can do that. Right? It's really to help you to learn. There will be like 2 midterms. So I would say also this course is a little bit unlike like a 2030 and 2101 where we got more frequent assessment. I think for this course, it's going to be just a little bit less. Okay, there'll be test 1 and test 2. Okay, so for each test, each one of them, there will be 2 parts. There will be the theory written parts. Also, there will be the programming part. All right, and the assignments over here are supposed to give you some idea about how these 2 parts will look like. I'll make sure I prepare them in a way that'll give you sufficient idea. Okay, but may not be exactly the same, but you definitely get enough idea. So the first one just slightly lower, so 20 and 25, and then the exam cumulative 50%. Okay, a little bit lower actually than 2101. I'm not sure if you noticed that. It was 55. Yeah, but 50 anyway. Yeah. So guys, any question so far? Yes.
I have a question about the programming part.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like how before with the midterms we had, like in the class, like the programming screenshots?
No. So the programming part, okay. So guys, I will confirm about this detail for you when we get closer. I still need to experiment a little bit myself so I can find out what's the most straightforward way for us to run the test. Tentatively, this part over here is actually going to be done on E-class, which might contain MCQ, multiple choice questions there, like in 2101 or in the other classes, or there might be some written. Maybe there's something you have to justify or write, over the answer box and submit. Maybe there's even something you got to draw, right? I don't know. So I will give you more guidance as we go to the test. The programming part here is going to be something that it should be very proficient. It's going to be JUnit based testing. Basically, you'll be given test cases, and then you might be given some skeleton code to start with. For example, let's say when we tested you on the linked list, we kind of gave you the singly linked node class. And then from there, you can plan different operation on the singly linked list, right? It's like a LeetCode kind of style question, okay? But for the programming part, most likely it will be on graph. I'll give you some basic skeleton for either of the 3 mechanism for implementation, and you will have to implement something from there, okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly how's going to be the split. For example, let's say, is it going to be 10% theory, 10% programming? I haven't decided yet, but I'll try to give you more concrete idea once we get closer to the test. It really depends on how the course material evolve until that point, and also how I think you guys are understanding this stuff, right? We'll see. And for the exam, it's going to be totally just written. But you might need to write some code anyway, right, in the exam. So for the exam, it's going to be written. And I requested for us to maybe go to the exam center, but I don't know. Maybe they'll give us maybe a lecture room like this, so we don't know. So once I know, I'll definitely let you know. Okay, exam and letter grade. Okay, over here. Okay, workload. Standard between 9 and 13.5 hours. If you can spend less, good for you, no problem. If you spend just about this average here, that's also great. But if you're gonna spend more, that's also fine, right? As I said, this course can be very challenging in understanding the material. Definitely spend more time. It's gonna lead you definitely a long way. All right, attendance, okay? So this attendance here, let me just tell you the policy. You can read over the policy here yourself. I'll just say that as if you didn't take it with me before. I will be taking attendance using something called iClicker. So we are done with this week. And for next month, starting from next week, we'll just do some trial attendance. Just give it a try about the iClicker, just in case you haven't got it to work just yet. Okay? And then starting from week number 3, we'll do the real thing by taking attendance. All right? So here's the thing. For the attendance check, there's something you want to pay attention to. First of all, it is not part of the grading scheme, which means it does not cost you anything, your marks, by not coming to the class, right? It has no negative marking really on you, right? It's not part of the grading scheme. On the other hand, there will be no concrete fixed bonus percentage awarded, which means if you come to maybe every class, does it really guarantee you'll get 5% bonus, for example? Not necessarily. Okay? So the way I'm going to use the attendance record for this term, I want to experiment is this. I will take attendance for many lectures and also for some tutorial, but if I do take attendance for tutorial, I'll let you know beforehand to let you know I will take attendance. So at the end of the semester, your roll marks, based on your test, your exam, your assignments, you will get a roll marks out of 100. I'll look at the marks over there. Let's say you got, 87. Let's say 87 is actually 3 marks from being A+, right? And for me to really decide whether I should really bump you up, to A+, it will be nice. But for me to decide, I need to consider different factors. Maybe I'll take a look at your exam marks. I'll take a look at how you did for the test, and I'll also take a look at your attendance. So all these factors added up together, if I'm convinced, I'll definitely put you up, right? But this will be something I will have to judge on my own. So I want to use the attendance as a way for me to be convinced, at least you come to every class and some tutorials, all right? So don't really think about this as like something very different. I may have to do some adjustment myself anyway. So I'm just saying this will be just a way for you to show that you actually come to the class. At least show some engagement, all right? So guys, please read all the policy very carefully about this scheme over here, right? Just make sure you install iClicker and also enroll in the course, and then we'll do some trial attendance, right? So there's no fixed bonus, right? But it will just be a way for you to show me that you actually got engaged in the course. I may do something. Yes?
So you're going to automatically consider it for us if we're above that 0.5?
Yeah, wow. I'm not sure if every instructor would do that. Let's say if you got 89.5, I think a center should be promoted automatically, right? If you got 89.4, strictly speaking, I don't have to, right? But if I can take a look at attendance or maybe come to almost every class, I'll definitely put you up, right? So it really depends. Yeah. Good. Also, since I recognize so many faces when you don't come, I can also tell. Quite many faces, but not exactly every, but we'll see. Okay. Don't worry, I'll be kind to you. Okay. Okay, please read over. And then for the iClicker. So make sure you actually find this course, 3101, over here, algorithm. All right. Actually, we only got about 9 minutes left, so I don't think it's good. We just go thoroughly about what's going to cover. I don't think I will be able to get to the motivating problems today. I think I can leave that maybe for Monday. Well, we'll see how much we can do. Okay, but at least let's finish the syllabus. Okay. All right, guys, that's what I really meant in the beginning. It will be quite relaxed before the reading week. basically just by coming to the classes. But, come to the tutorial, I will definitely assign something for you to work on, almost every week. And then after the reading week, you have your test number 1 the week, the second week after the reading week. Basically, let me finish this. I'll get to you. One moment. Yeah. So the idea would be, for example, in this review, this tutorial session here, we can do the test review altogether. And then I will try to release your assignment, which is going to help you prepare for test number 1 as early as I can. If I can make it earlier, I'll make it earlier. Okay? But at least you'll get the whole reading week and also a few days after the reading week to work on that and submit your best attempt. And then you've got time to ask me questions, right? And similarly for test number 2 as well. Okay? And then for exam, it's in the exam period. Yeah, question, please.
Yeah, it's for the calendar, right? I know we have lectures on Mondays and Wednesdays, but the calendar says Thursday, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's a very good point. I'll change that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sorry, I just did a copy and paste from other course. Yeah, I'll change that. Definitely not Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah. Good catch. Yes.
Is your tutorial this week?
This Friday, assume yes. Okay. I think this Friday here, let me work on that a little bit if I got some interesting problem that we can, because we haven't really reviewed anything just yet in the lecture. So there might be some stuff that we can do together, maybe in the tutorial, maybe briefly. How about this, guys? Let me confirm with you. If I can come up with something interesting for you to work on, I'll let you know, just come, right? If no, I would just say, let's skip the tutorial this Friday, just for the very first week. It's kind of tricky always. If we kind of start the week on Monday, so we will have already covered enough stuff for us to do a tutorial. Okay. I'll confirm with you. Okay. And I'll make sure I change this. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Okay, it should be Monday, Wednesday. Okay, I'll change that. All right, so weekly schedule. We got Monday, Wednesday lecture, Friday tutorial, office hour. Okay. Oh, by the way, no office hour this week. So please, I'll start the office hour next Monday. Okay. All right, any questions? All good? All right. Okay, let's go over a little bit more. We got about 6 minutes, right? So I think it may not be a bad idea to go a little bit background very quickly. And then we should be good. All right, okay, just general tips, right? So I think especially for this course over here, the algorithm itself is some very creative products, right? Of course, when we talk about standard thing, it may not be so bad to really understand, but to really come up with something creative is really something you want to keep trying, right? Don't feel too discouraged. Maybe you spend so much time studying, but somehow just cannot come up with the algorithm doing the test, right? Just got to keep trying. All right, some tips over here. You guys can feel free to give it a try. And leak code, if, I'm not sure exactly what kind of a problem they offer, but if you want to try out some graph problem over there, you can feel free, or even tree problems there. But the main thing you want to focus on will be the one I talk about in the lecture, right? I'll just we'll talk about it. Okay, be curious, reflect. Okay, some picture here, you can take a look. All right. Okay, good. Let me just talk about one, I think, just give me one more, just one or two more slides, and then we can finish earlier today. You guys are engineers, so you may want to consider being licensed as a professional engineer. So I want to include this page here for the context over here. So in Canada, every province has its own association to issue the license. For myself, I did my degree in computer science. They will be quite picky on my background to give me the full license. So for me, I just got a limited license, they call, like an engineering licensee, they call. So at least I will be qualified to teach engineering section and do research, on engineering. But for you guys, you got a full potential to be a full, they call the professional engineer, the title. You actually get a nice ring and some stamp, when you become a professional engineer. I don't have them. Okay. All right, so the code of ethics. So basically, this course here, you're going to implement and design some algorithm. The algorithm itself most likely will be used in some very important part in some safety critical context. Maybe in the pacemaker, maybe in some nuclear reactor shutdown system, in which case, if your algorithm doesn't really work or run too slow, in that way, it's going to cause lots of loss. If it's only money loss, you might be luckier. If there's life loss, you'll be held responsible. Right? So that's why being a professional engineer, you got to make sure you get the best preparation possible to get yourself ready. Because whenever you want to deliver your engineering products, you have to stamp your name on the product letter to say, me, Jackie, I'm responsible for this. Okay. Right, so that's about the core of code ethics. There are different criteria over here, but what we want to focus on will be number 4 and number 5. Number 4 is about knowledge. Of course, we're going to go over different algorithms, different ideas, and learn about how to analyze the running time and also correctness. And number 5 is about competence. Can you actually put those algorithms into workings? So that's why I want to give you a little bit programming components for this course as well. Right? You want to be both, be able to design, you're also able to implement. Okay? Right, let's say you put your name on some product, let's say a bridge, it collapses. Many people die. If you're lucky, you only get suspension. Otherwise, you might go to jail. Right? So these are the kind of consequences you want to be aware of if you're a professional engineer. And if you're interested, you can definitely go to PEO. For Ontario, it's Professional Engineers Ontario. You know what? Their office is actually quite close to York. It's around Yonge and Sheppard. I'm not sure if you're interested. But anyway, so if you ever want to get licensed in PEO, that's where you should go to. All right. Okay, so guys, I would suggest, we only got 2 minutes. Okay, I would suggest I stop here. Okay, and then from Monday, I will do a little bit more introductions and motivating problem, and then I will start reviewing some basic stuff. Okay, and as for this Friday, I'll confirm with you by e-class whether you should really come to the tutorial. All right, thank you so much. Okay, I'll see you later.